everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited because I get to share with you my favorite characters from all of the books I've read. So I have quite a lengthy list here. I'm going to go through all of my favorite sci-fi / fantasy characters first, and then move into more of the contemporary or thriller characters that I love. So let's just get right into it. The first two characters come from the same series, and that is Gandalf and Samwise from Lord of the Rings. These two characters are definitely my favorite. I haven't read Return of the King yet, so I can't fully say who my absolute favorite character is from this series, but I love all of the characters in this series, but Gandalf and Sam really stand out to me as the two that I just am so invested in. I love the most. Gandalf is just so funny. I love that we don't know the true limits of his power, so he kind of has this mysterious aspect to him. And then Sam is just the most loyal, loving, kind friend, and I love reading about him and Frodo so much, so definitely have to give a shout out to Gandalf and Sam. The next character I have is from The Martian, and that is Mark Watney, our main character who gets stuck on Mars by himself and has to survive until a rescue mission can come and save him. Mark Watney was the main reason I loved this book as much as I did, because without Mark Watney, I don't think The Martian would have been nearly as interesting. It read so quickly, and all of the hard science in it was so much fun to read through Mark's perspective, because he was so witty and funny the whole time. He never took himself seriously. He was just such a great narrator to this really heavy story about survival. So I love Mark Watney. I don't know that I love the movie version of him quite as much. I'm not saying Matt Damon did a bad job by any means, but just the book version, Mark is my absolute favorite. I love him. This might be in my top 3 characters of all time, and that is Victor Vale from Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Oh my goodness, I love the characters from this series, but especially Victor. And if you don't know what Vicious is about, it's about these two friends who did this project in college together where they explored this idea of people who came back from a near-death experience and came back with these extraordinary abilities. And so they are trying to gain these abilities themselves by almost dying and coming back to life themselves, and things go wrong and they become mortal enemies, but they now have these powers. And so you're trying to figure out what went wrong between these two friends, and Victor Vale is one of those two friends. He's so morally gray. You don't know if he's the bad guy or the good guy the whole time, but that's what I love about him. I love that he keeps you on your toes. You see this really human side of him, but you also see this really calculating and devious side that I love. He's just such a fun protagonist / antagonist to read about. I love morally gray characters, and I think V.E. Schwab did it perfectly with Victor in Vicious. The next character I have is a pretty common favorite character. I feel like she's on a lot of people's lists, and that is Vin from the Mistborn series, and this is from era 1 of the Mistborn series. So Vin, our main character, is herself a Mistborn, which means she can ingest all of these different types of metals in this world, and those metals give her certain types of powers. So she becomes really powerful throughout this story, but she starts off as this street urchin who's just living on the streets, has nobody, and is very, very introverted, very self-conscious. She's not confident with herself at all, and she has this amazing character arc through this series. I love the relationships she builds with all of the surrounding characters. She's just such a perfect fantasy protagonist. I love Vin. She's so badass, and she's just so likable. You just can't not like Vin. The next one I have is actually kind of hard, because I think up until Oathbringer in the Stormlight Archives, Kaladin was my favorite, but now I think Dalinar has taken my favorite spot in the Stormlight Archives. So Dalinar is such an awesome character. You learn so much about his past in Oathbringer, and you kind of are hinted at his really, really rough past in the first 2 books, but you don't know the full extent of what he went through. And I love a character that has like a really dark, haunting past that they just carry with them and is like this big source of guilt in their life, and they overcome it and they're still kind of haunted by it. I don't know. He is such a nuanced and complex character that I love. And I love that he isn't fully good, but he's not bad. Like you're rooting for him to come out on top. And I love that we're starting to see some power-ups with Dalinar now that we're past Oathbringer. I can't wait for Rhythm of War later this year. That is like one of my most anticipated books. So I think Dalinar is my favorite in Stormlight Archives right now. I have to give a shout out to Hermione from Harry Potter. Hermione Granger was everything to me. I've dressed up as her twice for Halloween. I love Hermione Granger. I mean, who doesn't? She's definitely my favorite Harry Potter character by far. I love Hermione, so just had to give her a quick shout out. I also have to mention Game of Thrones. All of the characters are beautiful and wonderful, and I love them all, but I especially love Tyrion Lannister. And the TV show version of Tyrion, I think, does such great justice to the book version of Tyrion. Like, they're both just perfect characters that you just fall in love with. I love the wit. I love that they don't take themselves or their situations too seriously, yet they always seem to outsmart others. I love that type of character, and everyone's always underestimating Tyrion, and he always like somehow just surprises everyone and comes out on top, and I love him as a character. So he's definitely my favorite Game of Thrones character, but there are so many good ones in this series. So if you haven't read A Song of Ice and Fire and you're a fantasy fan, definitely pick it up for its characters. I have 2 characters from another same series, and that is from the Raven Boys and the Raven Cycle series. I love the character of Blue, who is our main female character. I relate to her, I think, more than any other character that I've read from any other book, just because she's like more introverted. She really, really puts an emphasis on her family and being very close to her mother, and she just doesn't have many friends, but the ones she does, they're like such good friends. And I love Blue and her relationships with others in this series, but I also love Gansey. He's like a perfect balance to Blue. He's very outspoken, he's very arrogant, but I just loved Gansey. I loved following his journey because he does get kind of humbled throughout this series, and it's really fun to follow their relationship and also just follow their character arcs because they grow a ton in this series. Another just excellent book with wonderful characters, and that is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. Claire Randall is one of the best female protagonist characters, period. Like, she is just so awesome in every way. She's feminine but strong, and vulnerable but confident. She's just everything that you want to be. Like, she's such a role model to anyone and displays just such strength through this whole series that I would, if I had to go through the things that Claire Randall has gone through, I don't know if I could do it. But I love Claire. And then of course Jamie, another just awesome character that you just fall in love with. I love Jamie, and I love Jamie and Claire together, and I think that's the reason like I toughed it out through this whole series, is because of these 2 characters, and their relationship with each other is so beautiful, and they're just so well done. I love them. They're so flawed, but you still love them despite all of those flaws. And then the last fantasy character that I have to talk about is Vasilisa Petrovna from The Bear and the Nightingale, or the Winter Night trilogy. Oh my god, Vassia is the most likable character. I loved her so much. She doesn't take anyone's shit. She is so badass. I love her confidence. I love that she's described as not being the pretty girl. Every time you read about a female protagonist in a fantasy story, or really any story, always described as being so beautiful or so pretty, and Vassia is not that, yet she's so confident and sure of who she is, and just knows exactly what she wants in life, and I love her for that. And she doesn't need anyone to make her happy. She can totally make herself happy, but she has these wonderful relationships that build up through this trilogy. I have fallen in love with Vasya, and I love this trilogy. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check this one out. I'm going to do a full series review of this Winter Night trilogy very soon on my channel. And then just a couple of other characters outside of fantasy / sci-fi books. I want to give a shout out to Kate, the mother from Imaginary Friend. Like, when I read Kate's character in this book, she is this really strong and loving mother, and I just like wanted to be her. Like, that's the type of mother I want to be, is who Kate is. She's perfect. I loved Kate. So I just really wanted to give her a shout out from Imaginary Friend. But I also love all of the children in this book, especially Christopher. Christopher and Kate are just the best. I love this book so much. And then this one's gonna sound psychotic, but I loved Amy from Gone Girl. Now, I think there's a difference between liking someone as a person and liking someone as a character. Amy from Gone Girl is maybe not the best type of person, but she is the best kind of character that you just love to follow. I don't want to say too much, I don't want to spoil anything, but she's just really complex and I love her for it. Two more. The next one I have to talk about is Daisy Jones from Daisy Jones and the Six. This is a book I recently listened to on audiobook, and Daisy Jones is just such a cool girl that you, even though I don't know that I'd want to be her or necessarily be friends with her, I just appreciated following her journey so much as a character, because some of the stuff that she gets into is, you can totally see how the times that she lived in influenced her so much, and the crowds that she was around influenced her so much, but she comes out stronger in the end, and I just really appreciated her character a lot in this. I think she was really well done, and she felt like a real person. Like, I feel like Daisy Jones is real. Like, I can't wait to see how they do the TV show and make these characters come to life, because they already feel so real in my mind. Like, I felt like this was just a true documentary about a real rock band. It was so amazing. So I love when characters feel so real to you like that, because they're so flawed, they're so vulnerable, but you just really love watching them on their journeys. And then the last one I have is from Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, and it's Georgie, the main girl character from this book. I love this book. I know it made a lot of people's worst books of last year list, and I can see why. I get it. But I personally loved this book. It was actually one of my favorite books from last year that I read, and it's definitely one of my favorite romances that I've ever read. I think Georgie is just the reason that I loved it so much. She's such a likable character. Her job is dressing up as a clown and going to children's birthday parties. How great is that? I love her already. Like, she is so much fun. She's so funny, she's so sweet, she's so confident. Like, I just loved everything about Georgie, so I had to give her a shout out too. So that was a lot of characters, but those are some of the standout book characters that I have read about within all these years of reading. What are some of your favorite book characters? Do we have any of the same? I would love to know, so leave those comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And until next time, bye!